All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we'll be previewing and predicting week 10 of the NFL season. It's surreal that we're in double-digit numbers week 10. That's crazy. It's our first morning NFL Seekers pod. I got my coffee with me. How are you, Josh?
Doing good. It is our first morning pod. Usually we're a late night pod, so it feels a little different. But like you said, surreal that we're already 10 weeks into the NFL season. It's cold outside. I don't know if I'm really prepared yet for this cold weather. And I mean we're getting into week 10, so that is just absolutely nuts. But sneak peek. Me and Dan have been working on our power rankings, so we're gonna get that episode to you. We're just finishing it up, so sneak peek, it's coming soon.
Yeah, power rankings episode this weekend. We'll tease that for you. It's gonna be really fun. We'll get right into it. We got a lot to talk about today. We'll start with our betting locks of the week, our underdog slip. We'll let you start with your lock of the week.
So I had Rashad White going over 23.5 against the Tennessee Titans. I love this. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to spread the ball out a little bit more. The Titans have a really good defense, and Rashad White just seems to be getting a lot more involved. So, I absolutely love this pick. 23.5 seems very safe. He could go on, for a 20, yard screen on any given play. So this one I felt very confident in.
Yeah, I think that's an absolute lock. He's been getting over that 23.5 line like the last 5 weeks. That's a pretty low line. I love that. And then we did a kind of a consensus lock together. We both consensusly chose Deontay Johnson over 62.5 receiving yards. He's just been such a big part of that Steelers offense. He's been so involved. He has to hit that. We feel confident in that. And then my lock of the week is going to be Geno Smith over 244 passing yards. This is strictly just based off matchup going against that Commanders defense, are such a pass funnel defense. You know that Sam Howell and Geno Smith are going to put up numbers, and it's going to be a high scoring battle. So I'm pretty confident that Geno will hit the over against that pass funnel Commanders defense.
Yep. And let's just I'm going to tell you what Rashad White's last three games looks like. For receiving, it's been absolutely fantastic. He's had 6 receptions, week 7 for 65 yards. Against Buffalo, 7 receptions, 70 yards. And then last week against Houston, he kind of regressed a little bit, but it was still 4 for 46. So just seems like a very, very safe line at 23.5 to go with. And then, yeah, Deontay Johnson felt like an absolute lock. He's really been the Steelers wide receiver one. And against Green Bay, I feel like Jair Alexander is going to be lined up on George Pickens on the outside. So I really like Deontay Johnson right here too. And then, yeah, I love your Geno Smith one because the Commanders and Seahawks games feel like it'll end up in a shootout of some sort.
Yeah, definitely tell us. These feel like such locks, but we'll get on to our game preview segments. We'll start with a Thursday night game. Today's game, it's the DJ Moore revenge game. The Panthers are going to go into Chicago and play the Bears. The Bears are 3.5 point favorites, and not just the DJ Moore revenge game. It's the Deontay Foreman revenge game. It's the DJ Moore and Bryce Young kind of revenge game because they kind of got traded for each other. It's a pretty fun storyline tonight on Thursday Night Football for the combined 3-14 record of these two teams. So it might not be the prettiest Tyson Bagent versus a struggling Bryce Young right now, but it'll be an interesting matchup. The Bears honestly didn't look bad against the Saints last week to me. They put up a pretty good fight. Cole Kmet has been honestly a star. Bagent loves Kmet. He's been feeding him, and you get Khalil Herbert back. You don't get Fields back, but you get Herbert back. And Herbert played really good when he was healthy at the beginning of the season. He was running really hard, so I'm excited for Herbert to get back. And the Panthers are coming off a win, their first win. Or sorry, they're not. I take that back. The Panthers are coming off a rough loss. So I can't even say anything positive really. They're coming off a rough loss to the Colts where Bryce Young had a really struggle of a game. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny is I was going back and forth about this when we were putting in our picks in yesterday, and I ultimately, for no reason, just decided that I think that the Panthers will actually end up winning this game. And I think it's going to be because Bryce Young just wants it more. I think they don't want to embarrass themselves against the 2-7 Bears. They're only at 1-7. I think they want to at least be a 2-7 team at least. And I think the Panthers are going to go out there with their heads on fire. However, I do think that the Bears offense and defense might be a little bit better. And, it is the DJ Moore revenge game. But this just feels like a trap game to me for the Bears that they probably should win, that they won't.
I am gonna go with the Bears at home. I think Montez Sweat is gonna have a really big game in his first game. I just have a feeling on prime time he's gonna have a really big game, and I'm just gonna go with the Bears at home. I think they impressed me last week against a good Saints team. I think the Bajan's playing decent football, and the Panthers have been playing some gross football. So I'm just gonna go with the Bears.
Yeah, I guess you better watch it. We're both going in different directions on this one, but yeah, only reason I do feel comfortable going the Panthers because I feel it's a trap game.
Yeah, on the surface, it looks gross, but watch the Thursday night game. It might not be too bad of a football game. We'll get on to the next one, the Germany game in Frankfurt. The Colts are going to take on the Patriots. The Colts are 1.5-point favorites after getting a pretty good win against the Panthers. Their defense really stepped up. They looked a lot better. Their defense has been suspect this year, but really, really good performance last week. And I feel like Germany, Frankfurt's getting a little spoiled with last week's game. They kind of got the NFL's best product, and now they're not really exactly getting the NFL's best product. Colts Patriots are kind of struggling right now. Mac Jones is not playing good football. The Patriots are just not looking like the Patriots. It was said that Bill Belichick is probably going to get fired if they lose this game to the Colts, and they're not favored to win. So that's pretty crazy. And my last thing I wanted to talk about is J.C. Jackson. The Patriots just traded for him, and he's apparently just a terrible influence, and he's not traveling to Germany because he's getting grounded. He made Jack Jones miss curfew, and he's a bad influence. So the Patriots are grounding him for the week. So it's pretty comical. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm glad the Chargers got that out of their organization. I need to get that out of the system. Let's move on. We made a mistake. It's good to get rid of JC Jackson. They're taking on a lot of his contract. We get a 6th-round pick in return. It's a lose-lose situation, but it's good just to bite the bullet and get rid of him. So just had to say that. Good riddance, JC Jackson. But yeah, this is a pretty gross game. Frankfurt, I'm sorry. It's not gonna be Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Tua that you're watching. It's going to be Gardner Minshew and Mac Jones, which is a little bit more brutal. And again, this is going to be another game that just comes down to the wire for me. I feel like both of these teams are going to play very hard. The Colts are just kind of like that frisky team, that just they're kind of in every game. And for that reason, I am going to go with the Colts. And I just do think that Gardner Minshew, Jonathan Taylor, they're just a little bit too talented. And I don't know, the Patriots are just down bad. Their offense just does not look good. But from a fantasy aspect, I would be starting all of the Colts options: Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. I'd probably borderline start Zach Moss too, depending on what your flex looks like and if you're a dual flex league. What do we ever come to a conclusion on Josh Downs injury?
I was just gonna look. I haven't gotten any update on Josh Downs, but it isn't as serious as it's not like a season-ending issue or anything. But he could miss this one. That is something I'll look right now.
Yeah, and then going over to the Patriots side, I'm feeling pretty confident in starting Demario Douglas and Ramondre Stevenson, and that's probably it for me. Those would be my 2 starters that I feel comfortable with the Patriots.
Yeah, and I honestly cannot tell if Downs is going to play or not. It looks like he's really close. So if not, he'll play next week. So if Downs is playing, I'd probably play him. He's a beast, and this game will be high scoring. Although I'm going to pick the Colts. They're just playing much better football right now. They're the better team right now. The Patriots are just playing too gross. I have to pick the Colts, and probably high scoring game.
Yep. All right, we agree. Don't watch the early morning game in Frankfurt.
Don't wake up early for this week. We'll get on to the first of the 1:00 games. It's a electric, really, really fun one. Ohio State legend C.J. Stroud is going back to Ohio where he played his college ball. The Texans are going to go into Cincy and play the Bengals, who are 7-point favorites after the Texans had that big win last week. And yeah, C.J. Stroud is literally Joe Burrow, so I feel like this is just a fun matchup. It's going to be awesome to watch. I wanted to shout out Josh McCown for that one. He said in the pre-draft process that C.J. Stroud is Joe Burrow, and the Panthers wanted, I think Frank Reich and Josh McCown both really wanted C.J. Stroud, and it was pretty clear that their owner really wanted Young. So I feel bad for Reich. he didn't get his guy, and neither did McCown. They definitely knew they were definitely Stroud guys. So I respect that. And yeah, Stroud is Burrow. You can see it when you watch this game. You'll be able to see the parallels. They're both so comfortable in the pocket, and it's going to be so fun to see. Just it's two really really good football teams. It's going to be whoever's more comfortable and whoever's whoever's weapons are clicking better. It's going to be an awesome game.
Oh yeah. I just want to shout out CJ Stroud right now, and I just want to go over his first 10 game stats. So CJ Stroud has thrown for 2,270 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 1 interception to a 102.9 quarterback rating. That's probably, I mean, let me just, for example, I'll go over Patrick Mahomes stats this season, just so you can just what CJ Stroud. I mean, CJ Stroud is playing at top 5 quarterback level right now. There's just no arguing it. So Mahomes is 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns with 8 interceptions with a 96.7 quarterback rating.
They're both right next to each other. Like we're literally watching two top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL in this game. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously Joe Burrow started off the year struggling, 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He's really picked it up in the last few games. But yeah, CJ Stroud might have, from a quarterback standpoint, probably the best stats right now. Probably next to Lamar Jackson. But yeah, this dude is on fire. This game, this is an absolute electric game. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm so excited for this one. Two just solid teams, solid quarterbacks, well-coached teams. You know, the offensive weapons are really clicking on the Texans right now. Tank Dell last week, Nico Collins. I mean, Robert Woods. I forget the other guy's name who had a touchdown.
Noah Brown.
Noah Brown, yeah, from the Cowboys last year. And the Texans, I mean, it's just really coming together, and it's really special with DeMeco Ryans as head coach, and their defense is playing okay, you know, good enough for them to win. And then the Bengals, you know, just one of the scarier teams in the NFL. We're on a big win streak right now. But this one should be exciting, and I think these quarterbacks are going to make this a fun game for us, and I can't wait for it. However,
who are you picking?
However, I can't go with my sweetheart Texans. I know I wanted to, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals look too good, and I don't think they'll be able to knock them off. Just the veteran presence of Joe Burrows, I think, is going to get them through this game.
I thought you were going to do it. Of all people, I thought you were going to pick the Texans, but I agree with you. I'm going to pick the Bengals too. I just feel like they've been playing such good football. They're at home. They just beat the Bills at home, and probably it's going to be like a similar atmosphere. This is going to be a really big game. I'm really excited. It could go either way, honestly. The Texans are electric on offense, but I just think the Bengals defense is what will prevail.
Yeah, Lou Amorano, however you say his name.
Anarumo.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna figure out a way to put a little bit of pressure, and I think this might be CJ Stroud's second turnover. So, yep. which is crazy to say. He only has one on the season through 10 weeks. So I mean, I just feel like the Bengals are going to be prepared for this one.
Yeah, and in fantasy, you're confident of every fantasy option in this game. For the Bengals options, you're starting every single one of them. For the Texans, it's a little scarier. The Bengals defense is good. I could see a world where after coming off that huge firework performance, they kind of all take a step down and come back to earth like Tank Dell. And because I think Robert Woods is going to be back this week too. So don't start Noah Brown since Robert Woods is back. Just monitor that whole situation. They have a lot of weapons. It's kind of looking like the Chiefs with the Texans right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, of course, on the Bengals, you're starting Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, depending on your flex situation, Tyler Boyd. And then, yeah, I mean, Nico Collins, of course. I do feel after that big Tank Dell win, I do feel a little bit more confident start. I think out of those two receivers, those are the two I'd start on the Texans. And then I think Dalton Schultz is a borderline start. He really broke out last week. And I think this could be another okay game for Dalton Schultz. So definitely a guy to monitor for starting.
I think Dalton Schultz is probably just a start at this point. He's really a good security blanket for CJ Stroud. But yeah, we'll get on to the next game. Another insanely good game. The 49ers are going to go into Jacksonville and play the Jaguars. The Niners are 3-point road favorites, and this is just two absolute heavyweights. Great coaches. Both are coming off a bye, so they're both going to have good game plans. The Jaguars have had great game plans all year. It's a really hard one. The Jaguars have played really good football. It's like almost hard to pick against them, but the Niners losing 3 games in a row. I don't think you could possibly pick the Niners to lose 3 games in a row, even if it's against this great Jaguars team at home. It's gonna be a good game. Christian McCaffrey. I always get Etienne's first name mixed up because of his little brother. His little brother's name is Trevor, and it's also like Trevor Lawrence. So that whole thing just mixes me up. But Travis Etienne is gonna have a big game, even against this good defense. And I can see Chase Young getting a sack in his first game as a Niner.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with are the 49ers really going to lose 4 in a row? Is Kyle Shanahan off the bye really going to allow this to happen? And I think a lot of their reasons, I know Brock Purdy's been taking a lot of fire, which rightfully so, but the defense, has been allowing way too many points. And I think this week they're going to get back on track. I mean, it kind of shows you what that D'Amico Ryans loss meant to the 49ers just the last 3 weeks in general. But I think this is the week that the defense gets back on track. The offense is going to start clicking a little bit better. They get healthy off a bye. So I can't choose the 49ers to lose 4 in a row. There is no way they're going to be playing with their hats on fire. However, this is going to be one of the games. I want to point this out as one of the games of the week because 2 absolutely electric teams. I mean, Doug Peterson versus Kyle Shanahan should just be an ultimate fun game to turn on your TV and watch. And for the sake of NFL fans, I don't know how high scoring this is going to be, but I'd love for it to be a high scoring, exciting game. But I can honestly see this one being kind of a lower scoring one. In my opinion, I could see it being like a 16-20 game. I think I would feel comfortable saying it might actually be a low scoring game.
With the Jaguars defense kind of taking a step up to like an elite tier, honestly, I kind of agree. These are kind of 2 like elite defenses this year, and it's 2 elite offenses too. Like it could be high scoring in Jacksonville, but yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out. The fantasy options you start because they're all such stars. You kind of have to start every fantasy option. This one, Debo's back, so that's gonna be interesting to see how the Niners' receiving room plays out. But yeah, I think you start every option. If I'm being completely honest, there's one guy in this game I'm bullish on personally. I'm not telling anyone to bench him, but I'm benching George Kittle for Dalton Kincaid in the league, and I'm benching George Kittle for Evan Ingram. Or sorry, I'm benching George Kittle for Taysom Hill in the league. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with George Kittle and the 49ers situation with Debo in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect to say that because we got to mention that because George Kittle is either 1 catch for 3 yards or he's 4 catches for 4 touchdowns. He's like that kind of guy. So he's such a boomer bust prospect. But this Jacksonville defense is very, very elite. So I like that. I would definitely start Dalton Kincaid, who's just feels like a much more safety net, who's going to get a lot more targets, and a guy like Taysom Hill, like you just said, who's going to be running the ball, throwing the ball, catching the ball, a lot better options than George Kittle out there. So I mean, I get where you come from on that, and I do agree.
All right, we got the sweep on for the Niners on this one. Hopefully they don't drop 4 in a row. That'd be crazy. But we'll get on to the next one. Another great 11 or 1 o'clock game. The Browns going to Baltimore, and they're going to play the Ravens, who are 6-point favorites. The Ravens are always big favorites in all their games, and I mean, deservedly so. Sneak peek, spoiler alert: the Ravens are the #1 team in our power rankings episode that's going to come out this weekend. So that's pretty crazy to say. It's kind of been the Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills as #1 in the power rankings for like the last 5 years. So the Ravens have been really good this year. I feel like the reason they're at that spot is because I can't think of one weakness on this team other than injuries. You know that they're eventually going to get hit with the injury bug. But other than that, there's not really a weakness on this team. They're playing great football. I want to shout out their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. He's about to be a head coach. He's been awesome from Michigan. And yeah, the Browns have been playing good football with Deshaun Watson. The first time these 2 teams played, it was with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, so you kind of got to throw everything out the window. That's kind of irrelevant, and this should be a really good game, honestly.
Oh man, this is gonna be awesome. 2 AFC North teams just duking it out, and 2 just heavyweight fighters. These guys, it's like one of the most nitty gritty, just bloodbath fights I feel like we're gonna see. I mean, these 2 teams, just the way they play each other, they're just both aggressive, really, really good defenses. But Ravens are our #1 team. Ravens on all aspects are firing. Lamar Jackson looks like an MVP candidate. In my opinion, he's just playing some of the most sound football of his career. And I mean, on all aspects, the Ravens, I can't really just name a weak spot. I mean, their special teams is fantastic. Every layer of the defense is awesome. The whole offense, I mean, maybe they could have a little bit more electric receivers, but I mean, what a pick in Zay Flowers they got this year. That dude is awesome. Odell Beckham Jr. finally, it looked like he came on last week. Mark Andrews is a stud. So I mean, I'm feeling confident in saying I think the Ravens will win this. However, it is an AFC North game, a divisional game. It's gonna be a hard fought, just mean game where I think it's gonna come down to a lot of just running and defense. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see who comes on top. I have the Ravens, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns pull an upset in this one.
Running and defense. That's what this game will be. That's what these two teams are. And I agree exactly. I'm going to pick the Ravens. They're just our number one team in our power rankings, and they're just insane right now. They're such a good team. They're due for a loss, but they're just rolling. They're at home. They play great at home. And yeah, I think that the Browns defense is a little bit better, but the Ravens defense has just been playing great because Mike McDonald's so awesome. And these are two of the top defenses in the NFL. And I did want to ask you, I feel like there's going to be a lot of running in this game. So how do you foresee both of these backfields playing out this week? How are you handling kind of Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill?
This is wild. I think at this point, with how the Browns are using their workload, I think honestly you could feel confident in starting both Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt week to week. I think they both get enough involved. Jerome Ford's going to take bulk of the carries and bulk of the catches, but they seem to be giving Kareem Hunt the goal line touches, which are so big. So they're kind of just like perfectly evenly distributed. And I feel comfortable in both of them, even though it's against this hard Ravens defense. I'm going to start both of them because I think they're going to rely on the run game a lot. So I feel comfortable in both of those guys. The Ravens backfield, on another hand, it's like you don't know who's going to go off which week. Is it going to be Justice Hill? Is it going to be Gus Edwards? Is it going to be Keaton Mitchell, who came out of nowhere last week? Which Keaton Mitchell was pretty exciting. I mean, he had 9 carries for 138 yards and a touchdown. I don't know if we can really replicate that. I don't know if he's now their RB1. He didn't. I don't think he actually led the bulk carries. I think it was Justice Hill actually last week. Was I think like 12. And then even Gus Edwards in that rotation. So they're a true running back by committee. You don't know who's going to break out. In my gut, I just can't start any of the Ravens running backs because I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know who's going to break out which week.
That's fair. So my analysis is pretty similar. Like for the Browns, I think Ford is a must start, almost rest of season. I think he's like a must start RB2, and Kareem Hunt's kind of just a flex if you need a flex option. He always has a chance to score a touchdown. He's going to get involved. And yeah, for the Ravens, it's kind of just if you're desperate. I have a league where I have DeAndre Swift on bye, and I have literally no other running backs other than Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards. So I'm literally choosing between the two. And I think the what I would tell people is that if you're projected to lose, start Keaton Mitchell for the upside, which is what I'm doing. And if you're projected to win, just start Gus Edwards for the floor. But yeah, I think Keaton Mitchell he's a fun player. He's electric. He's a fast player. He's gonna be fun. He has a lot of upside. So stash him and start him if you really, really need. I think you could.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I 100% agree with. If you're desperate, you might as well just go for upside at this point.
Yeah, two great defenses in this one. Two of the best teams in the NFL. Honestly, it's going to be awesome. But we'll get on to the next one. The 5-4 Saints are going to go into Minnesota and play the 5-4 Vikings. The Saints are 2.5-point favorites. There's some NFC playoff implications in this one, and it's Dobbs mania right now. It's Dobbs sanity. There's no more Lynn sanity, and we've got Vikings fans shaving their eyebrows already, and they're all in, man. It's pretty fun to watch. He was honestly running wild last week on the Falcons. He really did like carry the Vikings and willed his way to a victory over the Falcons. He played some awesome football. It was deserved. All the hype's deserved. He's like I saw some reports that were saying he's going to get a big payday this offseason as a high tier quarterback too. And I agree. I think he's one of the better quarterback twos in the NFL. I think he's better than a quarterback up northeast in New York. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Josh Dobbs is awesome. And on the Saints side, they're playing some good football too. They've been kind of figuring things out on offense, getting Taysom Hill more involved. I think Taysom Hill is another big game against this Vikings defense. And yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Both teams kind of similar. Both teams have really good defenses. The Vikings defense has stepped up greatly. And yeah, it'll be fun to see Derek Carr versus Josh Dobbs.
Absolutely. You know what? And I'm just going to say it right now. Give me the underdog in this one and give me the Vikings. Give me the Dobbs mania. I'll buy into the hype. It could last a couple weeks. They look excited. Vikings fans look excited. And I just give me Josh Dobbs. The dude was electric last week. He came in, give him a full week of practice, see if he can, pick up the playbook. But yeah, he was running wild. He was making plays. And I don't know. I just feel like this Vikings team is broken as they have been. It's starting off 0-4. They're on a huge winning streak, losing Justin Jefferson to injury, losing Kirk Cousins to injury, and they're just still hanging on. They're just a mean team that just is hanging on to just that glimmer of hope. And I love it, and I love the addition of Josh Dobbs. I think that there's a handful of teams that should have been in a bidding war for Josh Dobbs, in my personal opinion, that could have upgraded substantially from getting him on their rosters, their starting quarterback. And the Vikings are the ultimate beneficiary of that. And I'm excited. I think this is going to be a big high scoring game. I think both defenses are, even though the Saints do have a really good defense, I think they're going to allow a lot of points. I think we're going to see maybe a 20-30 point game from these two teams. And I think fantasy wise, you can start everyone. This is one where I'm starting. Obviously, you're starting your main guys, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, but I think you can look a little deeper. And I think, you can find some borderline flex plays in these. Obviously Kamara, I think Taysom Hill is going to be awesome. Chris Olave, I think will have a big game. Is Michael Thomas healthy? Do we know?
Yeah, he had 0 points last week, but he is healthy.
Okay, that's what confusing. I saw 0 points. I'm like, did he end up getting hurt?
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this game. I start most of your fantasy options. I think this should be a pretty exciting one.
Yeah, I mean, I had the exact same thinking of you. I was on the same wavelength. I picked the Vikings as well. I'm riding off the hype train. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, I agree. You start pretty much every fantasy option. They're all going to do pretty good. And with that, we'll get on to the next one. The Packers are going to go into Pittsburgh and play the Steelers. The Steelers are 3.5 point favorites. And I feel like Deontay Johnson has just completely changed the landscape of the Steelers team and offense. He's made Pickett better, which kind of makes Najee Harris and Jalen Warren in that run game better. He's really opened it up. He's a great security blanket. He's always open, and he's proved that he's the wide receiver one in that offense. So that's fun. And the Packers coming off a win, wasn't the greatest win against the best of teams, but Jordan Love did look better. So hopefully they can kind of continue that. And Aaron Jones looks healthy, so hopefully he can have a big game and help them get the W. It's going to be a good one, and it's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is playing really good though. They could literally be 6-3 if they win this. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how the Steelers are 5-3. I'm just gonna say it's freaking Mike Tomlin. He can go out there and make anyone win. Pretty convinced he could throw me and you out there at quarterback and wide receiver, and we figure out a way. We figure out a way to get to get the win with Mike Tomlin. That's just how confident I am in Mike Tomlin. I mean, his ability just to win games and just to stay. I mean, it shows you I know Bill Belichick has more Super Bowls and has the overall better coaching record, but Mike Tomlin, I don't think he's ever had a season under 500. And, obviously, you go to Belichick, he had Tom Brady, and Mike Tomlin, obviously Ben Roethlisberger is a step down from Tom Brady, but still a very, very good quarterback. But I mean, the Steelers just stay relevant, and it doesn't matter who's on their team. They stay relevant. And for that reason, I think Mike Tomlin is going to give Jordan Love a good harassment. I think the defense and TJ Watt is going to just give him a lot of pressure. And I think the Steelers, in their running game and Deontay Johnson back, I think they're just going to, I think they're just a little bit more of a heavyweight team. And I think they'll ultimately knock off the Packers. I do think it'll be a good game. I'm excited to see how Aaron Jones goes out there and does, how Christian Watson does. I mean, what fantasy options are you feeling comfortable in this, Dan?
I'm very confident in Aaron Jones. He's the most confident in this game that I am in. I'm really confident in Aaron Jones. I'm excited for him. And even against this good defense, I just think they're going to have to force feed him to go anywhere. Christian Watson's scary as hell. I honestly wouldn't recommend anyone to play him at all. I haven't been recommending anyone to play him for the last few weeks, but I could see them kind of forcing things to him and him getting a decent performance in PPR. So, and a crazy dart throw, you could start Christian Watson. And then on the Steelers end, with Deontay Johnson, who's a must start, kind of opening up things and making this team honestly just better and their offense better. I think Najee and Jalen Warren are starts. I think they both played better with the But Deontay Johnson makes the Steelers offense score more. So it literally does just make all the fantasy options better. I think they're Pickens, Harris, Deontay Johnson, and Warren are starts.
Yeah, I 100% agree. What are we feeling on Luke Musgrave this week?
That's a little bit scarier. He just doesn't get enough volume against this tough defenses. I think I would look away from Luke Musgrave this week.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So listen to those fantasy options. Deontay Johnson, I think we're in for a big week. Aaron Jones, big week. And overall, just a close game. But yeah, I am going with the Steelers to knock them off just because of the coaching.
Mike Tomlin will do what he does. He'll will his way to another victory in another close game at home, and we'll get on to the next one. The Titans are going to go into Tampa and play the Buccaneers. The Bucs are 1-point favorites, and this is going to be fun. Two quarterbacks that will leave absolutely everything out on the field. They've proved that they're ballers, they're gamers, they're really fun to watch. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I feel like it'll be pretty high scoring, and yeah, I feel like this is probably like the sleeper game of the week. People are kind of sleeping on it, but this might be one of the more fun games to watch. Honestly, it's a really good matchup, and I did want to shout out Baker Mayfield. He was really like dueling with a top 10 quarterback last week in Stroud. It was a fantastic performance from Baker. If it wasn't for like a 30-second robotic drive, last second drive from Stroud, Baker would have won that game, and he had a good fourth quarter comeback drive as well. So Baker played awesome. He's been kind of shutting people up this year. The Bucs have. Their defense has been playing good. And then, yeah, I think Will Levis brings a whole new aspect to the Titans. He complements Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins so well, and I think it just makes the Titans a much better team. So this is a hard one to pick. It's a great game.
This was a really hard one to pick. 2, 3, and 5 teams. Baker Mayfield versus Will Levis. Who are we rolling with? Who kind of has the hotter hand? They're both not really hot. They're both coming off of losses in closer games. Man, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. I'm kind of still going back and forth. I think I want Baker. I'm going to go with Baker in this one. I think Baker's due for a win. I think they've gotten, they've just lost a lot of close ones. I mean, last week, with that robotic CJ Stroud drive, Baker Mayfield would have been the beneficiary of a game-winning drive and would have been the hero, but CJ Stroud just went full robot and just made some insane throws, and I'm not even sure how the freaking Tampa Bay defense actually gave that up. That was ridiculous. But I think the Bucs are due for a win right here, and I think Baker is going to have another big game. And this it's tough. Even saying that, I don't feel super confident, but I am going to stick with my pick of the Bucs. But I think Will Levis, I like this game. CJ Stroud went out there and threw for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. That secondary for Tampa Bay is not playing super great. So maybe we can see a big Will Levis game, and hopefully this is a high scoring game, and for a fantasy standpoint, hopefully DeAndre Hopkins gets down the field. Hopefully Will Levis, kind of has a few touchdowns. Tajay Spears, borderline flex play, depending on what your running back situation looks like. Of course, you're starting Derrick Henry. And then obviously the Bucs, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and I think Cade Otton right now at this point is just a plug and play tight end. And then of course Rachaad White I think is going to have a big game too.
Yeah, this one is so hard to pick. I'm still going back and forth in my head. The Bucs are coming off 4 losses, so it's hard to say that they're going to lose 5 straight because they've played good football. But I'm too high on the Titans. I'm too high on Levis. I've just been so high on them all year. I'm going to pick the Titans. It's a tough one, but I'm just going to pick the Titans, and it's going to be a really good game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't, I just hope it's a high scoring game. That's what I want out of this one. I want another 30-point from each team. That's what I'm hoping to see.
All right. And with that, we'll get on to the next one. The Lions are going to go into LA and play the Chargers. The Lions are 3-point road favorites. And this is just another incredible game. Honestly, the Lions are rolling right now, 6-2. They're going to get David Montgomery back. It's going to be a really good game. I feel like matchup wise, the Chargers are kind of favorited, because they have Herbert, and the only way you could beat the Lions is through the air passing it. But I feel like no Mike Williams does really, really hurt the Chargers in this specific matchup. I know it's kind of random, but I feel like if Mike Williams was on the Chargers, I would literally pick them with no hesitation. But I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be an interesting one in LA. The Chargers defense is kind of a story. They've played really good. They've honestly played, like, their run defense is historically terrible, and this year it's been really good. So it's been impressive what the Chargers defense has done. And honestly, same with the Lions. They were really bad last year. And the Lions have been one of the better defenses in the NFL this year too. So both teams have kind of been similar. The Lions are coming away with more wins, but it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, this should have been the primetime game. This is the primetime game as a Chargers fan. We played, was it last 3 weeks we've been on primetime? Yeah, so last 3 weeks, Cowboys, which that was obviously a good primetime game, but the with the Bears and then the Jets for primetime, I wish it would have been flexed with like something like this for primetime because this is gonna be a fun electric game. And yeah, you kind of just said it perfectly. With Mike Williams, you almost would lean towards the Chargers. And now with no Josh Palmer, it feels really tough. It just feels like the Chargers are running out of offensive weapons. Austin Eckler has kind of been struggling. He had, I think, 3 or 4 drops last week on just easy throws. That should have just been routine for him. And he's just not running the ball very good either. I mean, Austin Eckler, outside of his one big run last week, I mean, he's averaging like 1.8 yards a carry. It's really bad. I don't know why they haven't turned Josh Kelly yet. And then the Lions on that side of the ball are just looking electric. I mean, they can put up points. Their defense can make turnovers. They're so solid. The Giants are one of the, or sorry, not the Giants. The Lions are one of the most just overall sound teams. And their run game has just really come alive with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And then their freaking offensive line is probably one of the best in the league with Taylor Decker and Penny Sewell and Frank Ragnow, I think, is coming back in this game. So I don't know. I always want to pick my Chargers. I think that the X factor in this game, because it just feels like the Chargers offense is just so injury decimated. Two of the top 3 receivers are now hurt. I don't know. They just haven't really found their identity on offense yet, but the Chargers defense is absolutely coming alive. I mean, they had 40 pressures last week and 8 sacks, which is just weird. It's just weird to say the Chargers defense would be the key to success in this one. Whether they can get turnovers. I mean, Alohi Gilvin came back, so that's absolutely massive for the Chargers. He really helped that secondary. They were a lot more sound last week. I don't know, Dan. I wanted to go with my Chargers. They looked really good. They had a big statement win on prime time against the Jets. Um, the defense played great. I don't know though. I think I've gone with the Chargers every single week, and I don't know. I can't pick them to beat the Lions in this one. I think the Lions are just too solid of a team. So I think I'm going to go Lions. I think, however, it's going to be like within 3 points.
It'd be funny if I flipped it on you and picked the Chargers here. I'm kind of thinking about it right now on the spot, but I also picked the Lions. I also agree. I think it's going to be such a good game. These teams are close match. Like they're evenly matched. I feel like they're kind of built similarly. They're comparable for sure. And like I said, no Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston filling in for that Mike Williams role. I think Quentin Johnston, if he doesn't step up, I think he's the reason they lose this game. I think that it kind of relies on him, and I'm not going to bet on Quentin Johnston winning the Chargers this game. So I'm going to pick the Lions.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't feel like a safe bet right now to go against the Lions. And I honestly think the storyline of this one will be how the Chargers defense goes against the Lions offense, because it seems like the Lions offense is just so electric and has so many different weapons. And then it's almost more like how the Chargers edge rushers, if they're able to get to Goff and affect him, if Thule, Khalil Mack, and Bosa are able to get home and ups and create some kind of turnovers to put the Chargers in a good situation. I feel like that would be the X factor for the Chargers. But overall, the Lions are just more solid and a better team. It's hard to pick against Herbert against Goff, but Goff just overall, the Lions are just a better football team right now.
I definitely agreed. I feel like we summed it up pretty well. And then you start every single fantasy option. There's so many stars in fantasy. You start them all. Even Quentin Johnston with no Josh Palmer. You start everyone in fantasy. And with that, I think we'll get on to the next one. Another exciting game. The Falcons are going to go into Arizona and play the Cardinals. The Falcons are 1.5 point road favorites, and it's the Call of Duty game. It's the Kyler Murray game. He's back, and it happens to be Call of Duty drops this weekend. So it's the Call of Duty weekend game for Kyler. You know he's going to be locked in, dialed. He's going to ball out in Arizona. He's going to be ready. It's going to be a COD Boys return. He's going to go crazy.
Oh man, poor Kyler Murray, man. Oh man, the Call of Duty weekend. What are the odds of that? It's just, you can't even make it up at this point.
You can't.
You can't even make it up. The poor guy. Yeah, this game, I don't know. This, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm super excited to see Kyler Murray come back, but it also is just kind of a gross game. But I'm gonna go bold here because I need to be bold, and I'm going with the Cardinals. Give me Kyler Murray in his return game. I think these Call of Duty narratives, people hating on him, just give me Kyler Murray. I'll take Kyler Murray 10 out of 10 times playing against Arthur Smith, who's an absolute clown of a head coach. And I think that's the ultimate kryptonite. I think Arthur Smith is what makes the Falcons lose. And I'm going to just say that right now. He is the main reason. He's the sole focus. And he just I don't understand that guy. I don't know what his weird narratives and why he does things that he does, but he's just not a good coach. And I think it's coming to a head. And I hope he's on the hot seat, because he does not deserve to be an NFL coach.
This is really weird. We're on the exact same wavelength with all of these picks. I am also going to go with the underdogs. Give me COD boy. Give me Call of Duty Kyler Murray on COD weekend. He's going to. I just feel like it's going to be impossible to game plan for the Cardinals this week in the first few weeks. Like James Conner's first game back in weeks is going to be this week. Kyler Murray's first game in year is going to be this week. Like it's just going to be so hard to game plan against this Cardinals team. I don't even know how you could with Trey McBride. Like it's just such a weird team to game plan against. I think the Cardinals are going to be just tough, and I don't think the Falcons are going to be able to outduel them. They couldn't outduel Josh Dobbs last week. So
Yeah, no. Now you just said that perfectly. They couldn't outduel Josh Dobbs, who literally learned the playbook on the plane. On the
and he
plane
killed
ride.
them on the ground, and that's Kyler's obviously just going to go off on the ground. I would take his over on rushing.
All right, Kyler's going to be scrambling all over the place. And yeah, I mean, the Falcons, their offense is just so, I'm just stagnant, just non-existent. They just can't seem to figure anything out. They have good weapons, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, Taylor Heineke should have been a big step up last week, which I think he is. He's a big win over Desmond Ridder, but you still got a coach with like 3 brain cells. And so that's where it's not clicking for me. They're not going to use Bijan. I mean, Bijan's going to get his 10 carries. That's it. They're going to split it evenly with Tyler Algier. They can't seem to spread the ball to their good weapons. So yeah, I mean, just give me the Cardinals, with a Falcons team that just does not have an identity.
And if this backfires and the Cardinals lose, it's because Kyler was playing too much Call of Duty, and that's the only reason. So just monitor the Cardinals and Call of Duty. We'll see what happens.
That's true. If you can see if Kyler Murray's online, then we might have a problem.
Yeah, hopefully he's not going too hard. But we'll get on to the next game. The Giants are going to go into Dallas and play the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 16-point favorites. It's the biggest line we've seen all season. And Tommy DeVito versus Dak Prescott. The Giants versus one of the hotter teams. Like the Cowboys are playing good football. I'll lock this in as my bloody murder of the week, and I'll move on. Anything you want to say in this game?
Michael Myers just stabbing everyone and Halloween kills, and that's what I mean. Just the whole entire Giants team is going to die. That's my takeaway. Don't start anyone on the Giants. You obviously have to start Saquon. Start everyone on the Cowboys. If you have the Cowboys defense, lucky you this week, because they're probably going to score 40. But yeah, just the Michael Myers game of the week.
Yeah, hope that Michael Myers game of the week. Lock it in as the Michael Myers game of the week, and yeah, hope that Saquon gets 500 touches and start every Cowboys offense or option, especially their defense. And we'll move on to a much better game. Honestly, this is a pretty good matchup. The 4-5 Commanders are going to play the 5-3 Seahawks, and just target this game in fantasy. Target every player in this game in fantasy. Start them. Start every Seahawks, start every Commander. I would make DK Metcalf like a top 10 receiver this week, just strictly based off matchup. I would take all their overs, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Lockett. I would take Dotson and McLaurin's over. I'm confident. I would take Geno and Sam Howell's overs too. Like I'm very confident this is going to be one of the higher scoring games of the week. The Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites, and it's going to be fun. I actually think this will be a closer game than it looks.
Yeah. The Commanders just kind of hang in there kind of with everyone almost. They're almost at 500. They're 4-5. Seahawks coming off of their Michael Myers game of the week, absolutely got murdered from the Ravens. But however, yeah, I think Geno and Sam Howell, big games through the air for them. I mean, they've both thrown for a good amount of passing yards this year. I mean, Sam Howell's at almost 2,500 passing yards, 14 touchdowns. He's getting it to his receivers. And I think we're just going to see a big game through the air for both teams. And yeah, like you said, we're starting everyone. When we're starting Brian Robinson, we're starting Jahan Dotson, we're starting Terry McLaurin, we're starting DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett. I mean, Logan Thomas. We're starting the whole farm. So this should be a pretty good game this week. And I think we're in for a high scoring one.
And I'm going to pick the Seahawks. I just think you can expect some Sam Howell turnovers. They think you can expect him to mess it up in the end. And the Commanders traded all their pass rushers, so they there's no way they can really create pressure on Geno. So I just don't really see the matchup favoring the Commanders at all. But it will be high scoring, probably somewhat close. I just think the Seahawks will pull it out at home.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Seahawks because the exact same reasons. And I just, after that embarrassing loss last week and Kenneth Walker it was irrelevant. I mean, the whole offense was irrelevant. That this is going to be the game where they're pissed and they need to go make a statement win against the Commanders. They have to.
Yeah, 100%. And the moral of the story is start every fantasy option and honestly target this game in fantasy. And we'll move on to the next game, the Sunday night football game. The Jets are going to go into Vegas. I feel like the Raiders always have primetime games at home, but the Jets are actually 0.5 point favorites. So they're half-point favorites. We haven't seen that this year. So that's a really close game. It's going to be a hard one to pick. It's going to be two gross offenses versus two really, really good defenses. Max Crosby is playing like the defensive player of the year. I feel like should we set his I'll set his sack line at 80.5 sacks this week. You taking the over under on Max Crosby's 80.
Dude, hit me with the over all day long. I think I'm ever gonna go against Max Crosby. He's gonna get home. He's gonna cause hell for the quarterback, and it's gonna be hilarious. It's just gonna be an absolute defensive battle with two awful quarterbacks on each side. And if the Jets lose this one, I mean, I think jobs are on the line right here. I think the Jets have a lot to lose at this point. And I think, Jets fans will probably burn their stadium if they can't put up 7 points to beat the Raiders. So we'll see if their offense is just I'm just going to say whoever scores first will probably win. That's where I'm at right now.
Whoever scores will win. Whoever scores that field goal will win. It's going to end 3-0.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, if the Raiders can somehow get a touchdown, I think they're locks to win. I think if the Raiders can score 7 points and they can do it first, give me the Raiders. I'm going to take the Raiders. I think Max Crosby he wants it. It's prime time. It's prime time at home. And I just think the Jets are just due for an implosion. And I think their fans are going to riot and probably burn their stadium down if they lose this one. But I am taking the Raiders. I think that'd be hilarious.
The Jets are due for an implosion. If they lost this game and didn't change their quarterback position, then I'm just done. But I'm going to pick the Jets. Like Max Crosby elevates that bad Raiders defense so much. He's incredible. But that Jets defense, it just has dogs all across the board. I am going to pick Saleh to coach up the Jets defense and kind of make it hard on Aiden O'Connell, and Devontae Adams has been struggling. I think Josh Jacobs does have a really good game. I think Breece Hall has a really good game. Other than that, I think it's going to be really low scoring, kind of gross.
Give me this. Tell me, is the Jets defense going to score more points to the Jets offense?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm like, if the Jets defense, which I guess they are playing Aiden O'Connell. I mean, they made Justin Herbert look, like a human last week. They've made Jalen Hurts look like a human. They've made Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the Jets defense is elite, top tier, probably the best defense in the NFL.
I say this like not even being sarcastic. I think this genuinely could be a shootout based off of like pick sixes, like sparking offenses, and pick sixes just sparking the things. I think this could be a shootout.
I think if there's a line where you could put in multiple picks, fumbles, and the defense scoring, I think this could be the highest defensive scoring game of the week. So
yeah, and that's kind of all we're watching on this game. It's going to be a defensive dominant performance on Sunday Night Football. We'll get on to the last game of the week, Monday Night Football. The Broncos are going into Buffalo and playing the Bills. The Bills are 7.5 point favorites, and it's the Von Miller revenge game, a pretty emotional one. It's a Bronco legend right there. And yeah, I don't know. The Broncos are coming off a bye. The Broncos are quietly having a mini resurgence going on over there in Denver. They're playing a lot better on defense. Justin Simmons coming back and Baron Browning coming back from injuries has been massive. They've just been pretty like shut down on defense. I was pretty hesitant to take any Stephon Diggs lines and underdog this week, just considering that Patrick Surtain could shadow him. I'm just gonna take the week off on betting on Stephon Diggs this week, just in case Surtain does something crazy. But the Bills, with all the injuries really hurting them right now, I think coming off that loss against the Bengals, the Bills always get pissed coming off losses, prime time at home in Buffalo. I don't really see how they could lose this with that big line. I think as good as the Broncos are playing, they're playing a lot better. Russ is playing fantastic football. I think it's going to be the Bills.
just weirdly feels like a trap game to me. It just feels like one that the Bills think they should win, and they could go in here, and the Broncos, kind of like the Chiefs, they could end up getting embarrassed. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos defense, surprising with how bad they've been this year. I mean, they really like to get against the Chiefs, and they're coming off a bye. If they just have a really good game plan for Josh Allen, and they get him to turn over the ball. I mean, I think it's either going to go one or two ways. I think Josh Allen has 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, or he has, one of those games where he's 200 yards and 3 interceptions. I think you can only go one of two ways in this. And however, I can't not bet on the Bills in this one just because they are the better football team. And, it is Josh Allen at the end of the day. So I am picking the Bills, but don't be surprised if the Broncos pull up an upset in this one, because it would not shock me, and it feels like it might happen. I almost have a gut feeling it's going to happen at this point now.
With the Broncos playing a lot better, I was kind of feeling the same vibes. It does feel like the Broncos could, if this game was at home, I would almost want to pick the Broncos. I just think the Bills at home, coming off that loss, they literally need this win to stay in the playoff race at this point. Like, they're borderline hanging on to that wild card spot. So they just need this win. But I agree, it could be a trap game. And yeah, I also, that was a great point on Josh Allen. He's either getting 7 touchdowns and going to be the QB1 in fantasy, or he's going to be like the QB5 and have a terrible game. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's definitely feels like a trap game. However, I think, you're starting all your Bills options at this point. I think Dalton Kincaid's a very safe option. Gabe Davis is so weird. I don't know how to manage him. He can go, and this feels like a Gabe Davis game to me. This feels like Stephon Diggs on on Pat Surtain. I feel like this is a Gabe Davis game, so I'm gonna say start him. Khalil Shakir, borderline start. James Cook, I guess you probably have to start him depending on what your running back situation looks like. On the Broncos side of the ball, I think with the Bills defense is struggling, especially since Matt Milano went down. And I feel like this is going to be a high. The Broncos are going to put up points this one. I think depending if you have a quarterback on a bye, I think I'd feel on a primetime game feel comfortable starting Russ. I mean, I think start Judy. I think start Sutton in this one. I'm going to go out there and say start the Broncos. Javonte Williams. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I really do. The Bills defense has been struggling. Losing Matt Milano, I didn't realize how big of a difference that would make.
I did want to say one thing on that fantasy aspect. I agree. You start obviously Diggs, Kincaid, as you're so excited for. You could start him in the flex even. Gabe Davis, this does seem like a Gabe Davis matchup. He dudded last week, so he's going to bounce back big this week. That's what he does. And I wanted to say, I think Javonte outplays James Cook. I'd almost put money on it. I think Javonte finishes higher in fantasy than James Cook this week. I know it looks on paper like a good matchup for James Cook because of how bad the Broncos were at the beginning of the season, but I don't see James Cook getting more than like 6-7 fantasy points. So if you can, definitely look away. I would start Keaton Mitchell over James Cook at this point.
Yeah. I like that. James Cook has been very underwhelming all year long. So,
and Leonard Fournette, this is going to be his debut.
So. Shout out Lenny Fournette. That'll be okay. This is going to be an exciting week to see how the Bills backfield actually turns out. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, but yeah, James Cook, I guess. Yeah, if you have better options, definitely look elsewhere.
Yeah, look for Lenny to hopefully take over the Latavius Murray role. That could be really fun. But yeah, I think this will be a more fun game than it looks on paper. But yeah, really fun covering this week's games. There's honestly some really, really good games this week. So yeah, fun episode. Looking forward to week 10. And yeah, thanks for joining, Josh.
Yeah, good episode. Can't wait to get to our power rankings this weekend. So look forward to that, guys.
Yeah, look out for the power rankings. Thanks for checking out the NFL Seekers. Like, subscribe if you liked. And yeah, peace.
Peace.